Superman Unchained #1, written by Scott Snyder, art by Jim Lee and Dustin Nguyen, though Jim Lee is writing the vast majority of this. So, this is a mini-series to celebrate 75 years of Superman, and they specifically have written here on the back, comics biggest writer, comics biggest artist, comics greatest hero. So, they were very proud of this. I have no idea what it's about. So we open up in 1945 Japan, and not just any 1945 day, August 9th in Nagasaki, where not good things are going to happen. And we are introduced to this young boy who goes outside, and he uses his binoculars to look up at a plane, and the plane drops a bomb. But then the bomb breaks apart, and we see is this blue-skinned man dropping out of it, and then all of a sudden he combusts and causes the nuclear explosion over Nagasaki. So then we jump to now. We're in space, and Superman's talking about how whenever he comes back into orbit, he always feels like he's a kid jumping off the top of his neighbor's barn into a hay pile. And then he realizes, like, oh, okay, what I've got to do now, though, is much more complicated than that. A bunch of satellites are just falling out of the sky, including this one called the Lighthouse, which apparently was this big international effort to whatever. It's unimportant because it's falling out of the sky, and the important thing is that it has a nuclear reactor in it, which, if it hits the Earth, is kind of a big deal. 7 other satellites have fallen out of the sky. Superman caught 6 of them, and then one of them landed at like an abandoned army base, so he didn't care about that one. He's like, that one I can just let, whatever, who cares. This one, however, has people on board, so I got to deal with it. So immediately he takes the people and kind of just throws them out of the range of the wreckage. Mind you, they're crashing into Earth still, so they're freaking out about that. And they're like, Superman, we're kind of gonna burn up on re-entry. You think you could help with that? And Superman uses heat vision to activate the re-entry shield on the satellite. And then he starts getting beat up by the ship itself, which I guess has some level of AI or something in order to try to keep the ship all in one piece. And Superman is literally tearing it apart, so that's an issue. Then he realizes, okay, I can't destroy the nuclear reactor itself because it's kept in like a lead-lined case. But what I can do is go after the engine behind it. And he uses his X-ray vision to see it. And then he's like, okay, but I can't get to it from where I am. So I'll change my X-ray vision into a gamma ray vision. And it immediately causes the engine to blow up. So nuclear reactor no longer an issue. But now they're still crashing down to Earth, and Superman just grabs up the astronauts and be like, hey, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So an entire space station just crashes down into Earth, and Superman catches it. And he saves the astronauts, and all these people are running up trying to help, and he's like, nope, everything's fine. Get these astronauts some medical care, but they're, just a few cracked ribs, no big deal. And yeah, I'm out. Peace. And he gets a call from Jimmy Olsen basically saying, Clark, you're never going to believe what Superman just did. And he's like, oh, I think I have an idea. So then we get this brief little thing of how some cyber terrorists called Ascension may have been behind it, but Superman doesn't think so for whatever reason. And then we get a sequence of some, I think they're inmates that are now like taking a helicopter out of control of the officers that are moving them, and inside reading the Iliad is Lex Luthor, and he's just nonplussed by all this. But as the helicopter is going haywire, Superman catches it, pries open the door, and he's like, hey Lex, what are you up to? And he's like, oh, just reading my book, saving the city. And he's like, yeah? So here's the deal. The satellites that fell out of the sky, you hear about that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, they all had some code hacked into them that was from your research project back when you were in college, your doctorate research. How do you think that happened? And he's like, well, I reported that research is stolen many years ago, so probably whoever stole it, Superman. And he's like, do you think it was Ascension? Superman's like, no, actually, I'm pretty sure it was you, Lex. I think you're evil. And even though you're in jail and you're being transferred to a Supermax prison, I think you still somehow did this. And Lex is like, well, that's stupid. I'm here to help the city. And we see that he has taken the pages of the Iliad and made an origami metropolis skyline and said, I plan on building this super awesome solar tower. That's my gift to the city, Superman. I'm a good guy. So then we go to back as Clark Kent. He's talking to Jimmy Olsen, and Jimmy's basically talking like, oh, I got this drone from the Daily Planet. They want me to take pictures of like paparazzi stuff. Bruce Wayne caught me within like 2 minutes of trying to take pictures of him. And at that point, Lois calls up and says, hey, Clark, your article you wrote on the space station, why didn't you mention Superman in the headline? And he's like, because Superman wasn't the big part of it. He was there, he saved the day, but he's not like the headline of the story. It's about these satellites falling out of the sky. And Lois is like, yeah, okay, fine, sure, whatever. But here's the thing. In your story, you say he saved 7 of the 8 satellites. He saved all 8. Like, he got the last one. He pushed it out in the ocean. And Clark's like, let me call you back, Lois. So he goes out into the ocean. He's like, no, I didn't do that. Someone must have intervened, but it wasn't anybody in the Justice League. So who's got that kind of power running around? And he makes his way over there, and he sees in the wreckage is a handprint, a very large handprint, but it's a clear sign that someone human pushed it out of the way. And he's like, all right, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden he gets attacked by 2 missiles. And we see a submarine nearby being like, oh, crap, we just shot Superman. Captain, can you get General Lane on the line? So then we see General Lane, and he's like, did you guys shoot Superman? And he's like, yeah, no, we were trying to blow up the satellite to protect our national interests, and Superman just happened to be here. We didn't even know he was there. It's like, okay, well, stop talking about it, because he can hear you, you idiot. And he's like, okay, fair enough, yeah. So at that point, Superman, General Lane hops off, and he's just like, oh, it doesn't matter what Superman saw. He'll never be able to find us. And we see they're in this huge underground cavern, full of weapons and stuff that I guess Superman has no idea about. And they're like, oh, but sir, if Superman is able to figure out that satellite stuff, he can find us. And General Lane says, no, he can't, because even if he manages to get here, he still doesn't know that we have our own Superman down here. And he's been working for the United States for nearly 75 years. And we get this blue-skinned guy with like a red energy and a star on his chest. And that's technically the cliffhanger. Though we do get Dustin Nguyen's bit here as the epilogue, where Jimmy Olsen comes up on Perry White, who is cleaning out his desk just to clean it out. And he comes across a pair of binoculars that he got from his grandfather, who was on the ground in Nagasaki reporting on all the damage. And he's like, oh, these binoculars, they're horrifying. The things they must have seen. Can you imagine looking up there and seeing what monstrosity was dropped upon you? And then intercut with all of that, we get 300 miles off the coast of Nova Scotia, a boat that has picked up in its fishing net a human being that is seemingly dead, has its eyes burned out, but then it starts talking and says, get me Lois Lane. So, a lot of threads all moving at once. Here's the thing about Scott Snyder. He's a lot of things, but what I think he is very good at is writing a good mystery. He gets you hooked very early on. It's very small little breadcrumbs of like, who caused these satellites to crash? Why did that American Superman, or whatever it is we're going to call him, get involved? Why is he a secret? There's a lot of good moving parts here. I'm intrigued to see where the story goes. As for the art, Jim Lee, yeah, he's great. He does a fantastic job here. I will say there are some pages that feel more rushed than others. I know that Jim Lee is not particularly good at budgeting time, so it's hit or miss sometimes, but overall, when it needs to hit, it hits well. So I'm going to give this one, as a first issue, I'll give it just a solid 8. It's got me interested. It's an interesting opening to a book that obviously it's a mini-series. They knew that going in, so they can tell a nice, concise, written story without having to worry about how to keep it going, how to have it be a part of the universe from now until forever. So we'll see where it goes with issue 2.